civilizations of Mesopotamia and their claim to fame. All right, so where in the world are we? Keep in mind we're in modern-day Middle East, in the Fertile Crescent area. Mesopotamia occurred between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. It's an area that's very suitable to agriculture, and most civilizations who developed in this area had a lot of success when it came to farming, which made life a lot easier, and they grew to be very large, successful empires. All right, so Sumer, we have Sumer is the very first civilization. That's one claim to fame. It doesn't look like much today, the ruins of Sumer don't, but at one point in time they had extensive building techniques and pretty amazing stuff for as early on in history as this was. Sumerians were also the first to create a writing system called cuneiform or cuneiform. You may have heard it pronounced both ways. This was a word system that was based on pictures, much like the Chinese language is today. There's one picture to represent each different word that they tried to say. And they would carve these letters into clay tablets like the one you see on your screen. So Sumer, famous because it was the first civilization and they had the first form of writing. Then we have Sargon. The Akkadians rise to power and take over the Sumerians, and they do this thanks to the guidance of their leader Sargon. You can see his lovely statue here. Sargon led the world's first empire. He wasn't okay with just being rich off of the wealth from his own city. He wanted to steal wealth from others and began taking over. Next we have Babylon. The Babylonians come along and take over Sargon. They are famous for their king Hammurabi, and he writes the world's first code of law, which is based off of a revenge system, and it's literally an eye for an eye. If you harm somebody in a way that causes them to lose their eyes, you will have your eyes plucked out. Babylonians fall to the Hittites. The Hittites were great warriors because of their chariots. They were able to create a three-man chariot, which made them much more effective. They were extremely fast when it came to the battlefield, and they were able to be very successful in war thanks to this invention. Next we have the Assyrians, also successful warriors. They were well known for their torture techniques. They were pretty awful to their prisoners of war. You can see in this drawing here, the warlord is poking out the eyes of his victim, and then another victim here is being led literally by the nose. A chain is attached to his nose. Next we have the Chaldeans and their king Nebuchadnezzar, who's famous in the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran. He also built the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, which no longer exists, but according to the historical record would have been one of the 7 wonders of the world. And then finally we have the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians are different from all of our other civilizations. They became rich off of trade in the Mediterranean Sea, which is different. They did not steal their wealth, they earned their wealth. They also created a letter system that is the basis of our own letter system today. They were the first to come up with the idea that if we make a standard number of letters and then use different combinations for the letters to create words, we don't have to have one picture for every word we want to say. So those are our civilizations of Mesopotamia. Make sure you know their claim to fame. Find some ways to remember them. For example, the Hittites created the chariot. Well, they also must have then created the first hit and run. That's the way I always remember it. So come up with some other strategies for remembering the claim to fame for the other civilizations. And make sure you listen to that vocabulary song a couple of times.